my friends. I'm Pastor Mark of Clinton Avenue Reformed Church in Bergenfield. We are starting today a brand new series of children's Bible stories. These stories are all about Lent. Now, that's a word you usually don't hear much about. I'll tell you all about it quickly, briefly. Lent is the 40 days before Resurrection Day, if you don't count Sundays. Excuse me. Now, you've heard about the term Easter Sunday. Well, the original name for Easter Sunday was Resurrection Day, when Jesus rose from the dead. That's what we celebrate. And if you count back 40 days without counting Sundays, in the early church, that was a time for someone to think about, do I want to be a Christian disciple? Am I good enough? Am I strong enough to do what Jesus told us to do? So those folks took that time of 40 days, not counting Sundays, before Resurrection Day, and said, do I want to be a disciple or not? That's a good question for all of us, because it's not easy being a disciple of Christ. Now, we're going to be walking where Jesus walked, looking where Jesus walked before Holy Week. And today, our first series for Lent, we're going to be looking at the Mount of Beatitudes. Hey, this is a church in Israel on the Mount of Beatitudes. I'll tell you about the Beatitudes in a little while. This is an artist's description inside a church that's on top of that mountain of Beatitudes. And here's Jesus teaching a whole big bunch of people. Well, is that really what the Mount of Beatitudes looked like? Actually, no. That's not what the Mount of Beatitudes actually looked like. I will show you what the Mount of Beatitudes looks like. That is the Mount of Beatitudes. Hey, it overlooks the Sea of Galilee. This is the Sea of Galilee over here. And on top of this mountain, it is kind of a steep climb. You can't really see it here, but it's kind of high up in the Sea of Galilee. It's up there that people say Jesus taught the Beatitudes. I'm going to show you another picture of those. These are the Beatitudes. Now, you see it says English up here? Well, in the Mount of Beatitudes, where that big church is I showed you, there are these Beatitudes in I don't know how many languages. There's a whole lot of languages because tourists come from all over the world to see these Beatitudes, to be in that church. So the folks who run the church, the Franciscans, that's one of the Catholic orders, have these posted all over. And they're really good advice. Jesus and the Mount of Beatitudes said this to the crowd. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What's that mean? It means that if you are really feeling down, you're mourning something, you're very, very close to God if you reach out and touch him. When things are going great, sometimes we forget God. But when we're downcast, we're more likely to reach out. God's always with us. Whether we talk to him, that's a question. Blessed are those who mourn, they'll be comforted. Again, when we are mourning, we're less full of ourselves and our possessions and more likely to reach out to God and more likely to hear from God. Blessed are the meek. What's that mean? Well, maybe a better translation might be self-controlled. People who keep control of themselves, who don't get angry very, very easily, who aren't leaping to find fault with others, they ultimately will win the conflict, or they ultimately will achieve their goals. Be self-controlled. Say, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. They'll be satisfied. When we try to do the right thing, when we're really working on it, God will show us the way. God really will. Blessed are the merciful. They shall obtain mercy. How about you? Are you kind to others? Are you merciful to others? Are you all set to get angry and attack others? You see, how we treat others is how we're going to get treated. If we get attacked, not always, but a lot of times it's because we attack other people. And if we don't show forgiveness and mercy to others, we're not going to get it either. Blessed are the pure in heart. They will see God. Is your heart pure? Do you always long to do the right thing? Or do you want to be greedy and angry and look out for yourself? Are you willing to cheat? Well, those people aren't close to God. Let's be pure in heart. Let's think about what God wants and how we can live for others, not ourselves. And we will see God. How about the peacemakers? Blessed are peacemakers. They'll be called children of God. Now, children are much closer to parents than neighborhood kids. Neighborhood kids may like your parents may like them. They're not as close as parents and children. Are we seeking to stir up troubles? Do we like seeing people argue? Or do we want peace between people? Those are really God's children, those who seek peace. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There are times when doing the right thing may get us criticized by other people. Some people don't like it when we're behaving well. Makes them look bad. And temporarily, we might get criticized and get some heat. But in the long run, we'll inherit God's kingdom. Do the right thing, even if some people might not like it. And so, my friends, this is the first Bible lesson of Lent, the Beatitudes. And I hope you follow those Beatitudes. If you follow them, use them as good advice every day, you are going to have a much more pleasant life than if you don't. And you know what? You'll be God's special child in this life and in heaven. So please do that. I welcome all you, and I'm glad you're here. This is Pastor Mark of Clinton Avenue Reformed Church, Bergenfield, New Jersey. Please, when you see this, like this, share it, comment on it, and tell your friends about it. I want everyone to know God's blessing and peace. You be blessed today and the whole week. I'll see you next week with another Lenten story.